Welcome to the Away Day Review Show here on Back of the Net. We're an AFC Bournemouth fan channel, and you want to know what this video is all about? Well, clues in the name, right? We review the away day experience at a Premier League ground. This week, it's Newcastle. Oh, how rude of me, by the way. My name's Sam Davis.
I'm Ben Phillips.
Ben, how's the TikTok doing? Are you on big numbers? I know you surpassed 10k. Where are you at now?
I'm slowly chasing down the YouTube. Maybe one day.
Oh, it's going to happen, isn't it? Now, you'll notice this face is not Tom Jordan's. He was not at Newcastle, so Ben is standing in. And this is where we talk about everything apart from the match itself. Because obviously, if we're talking about the game, we'll have some good ratings when we win and bad ratings when we lose. That's not what we're about. We're about reviewing 8 different factors on an away day, scoring them, putting them in a tier list, totaling them up and putting them in a league table. So this is the tier list in question. You see what we've got here. We've got a number of different categories ranging from just can't score this on 0 right the way through to thing of beauty on 10 points. And you'll notice there that there are some icons at the bottom, right? Well, each icon means something because we're going to be grading all of these different factors. Ben, talk me through them.
Right, so the first one's the car parking scenario about how good it was, how expensive it is. Next one's pre-match pub. What's it like in there? What's the aura like? Are the Geordies nice people? I think we all know the answer to that. Walk to the ground, if it's too far, too close, that kind of thing. Next is the wow factor of the stadium itself. Obviously, if you were to rate Dincourt on the wow factor, maybe it would be a 2 or a 4.
Yeah.
And then the next one's onto the view from your seat, what it's like there. Next one's pint, how much it costs for a pint and what it was like, if it was good beer, good pie. Then the second to last one is the noise, how much noise your fans are making on the day. And then last one is the value for money, whether you think that you spent the money that you thought you should for the day itself. So, yeah.
Excellent. And what we do, once we've scored them, we will tot them up. There's the league table at the moment. Then you can see that Manchester United are flying high at the top. Beware, we will recalibrate these at the end of the season, because once you've got all 19 to look and compare against, you can say, oh, actually, we must have done that score in the heat of the moment. They need to be downgraded. And the one thing to consider is the wow factor. It's not done by us. It's done by a different AFC Bournemouth supporter each time. That one for Man United was done by Tiggs. And now I think he'll look back and say, I should have downgraded that. Either way, firstly, let's get onto it then. And it's all about the car parking, or in this case, the travel, because obviously it's the longest journey in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, comfortably as well.
What did you do? Did you go up on the Friday or do it on the Saturday? How did you do it?
I kind of split this in half and half. Went up to Leeds on the Friday night, stayed there. I did make it through staying in Leeds, which was obviously a good thing. And then travelled up to Newcastle on the Saturday morning, and then went down to Northampton around there on the Saturday night. Stayed there for about 3.5 hours, and then did the rest on the Sunday. So it broke it up quite nicely. Yeah,
so we did the whole trip on the Friday. Thankfully, we could share driving, which made it a lot easier, because doing that kind of 6 hours and Friday traffic's always worse than Saturday morning. But you know what? We did it in pretty good time. We got an Airbnb in Gateshead, actually. But one thing I've got to say is, so our car was parked there. And it's a stadium that doesn't have much car parking, but there's a good transport network around St James's Park. There's the metro. It's relatively cheap to get a bus if you want an Uber. There's plenty of them around, and they're pretty cheap as well. Our Uber from Gateshead into St James's Park was peanuts, really. So we're going to probably do a score for, I don't know, transport to the ground rather than specifically car parking. Ben, where do you think this should maybe go?
I think it was decent, because when I parked obviously when my dad parked his car near to the ground, it was just in a mosque car park, and it was about...
Was that like Just Park or something? Or what was that?
Something like that. It was about 10 minutes away. You could pretty much see St James's Park from where the car park was.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was a decent walk, and after we had done the fan camp and stuff, there was no massive traffic. So I actually thought it was pretty good. So I'd say I would be happy enough with that.
Happy enough. There we go for car parking. Right then, the next category we're onto is the pre-match away pub. Now, the good thing about St James's Park, they don't really have dedicated away pubs, do they? So you can pretty much go where you want.
Yeah.
That must be different for Sunderland when they visit. It's got to be.
Surely. Yeah.
They'll have their dedicated away spots. But we went to a pub called The Junction, which was a Green King. It's where the fans go. And you could use your Green King app to get your 20% and your Score Kings and all that kind of stuff. There was a football game on at the time as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, Brentford-Liverpool, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. And Liverpool ended up winning it, I think.
3-1, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And then, but that was a really nice, and look, we've been to other pubs as well. I think there's one called The Bridge that we went to last time. Fans are even, away fans can go in like the Strawberry, which is right near to the stadium. I think that's where Jim Favola ended up going into at one point. Shearer's Bar as well.
Yeah.
And all the Geordies that I chatted to were like, yeah, you can go in there, no problem at all. Honestly. Wow. They are so friendly, and you go where you want. And in terms of proximity to the stadium, 10-minute walk, if that.
Yeah, it was very good. I was very happy with it, and the whole aura in the pub was nice. All the Geordies were a friendly bunch. It was a decent enough pub from my recollection of it. It was just solid, I think.
And look, you came in with two lads, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really know who they were at the time. You know what? I did recognise their faces, but I wasn't sure where from. Turns out that their TikTok is even bigger than you.
Oh, yeah.
Like YouTube channels and stuff.
What's bigger?
Unbelievable.
JJ Charlton and Geordie Josh, if you are watching this, shout out to you lot, great lads.
Love those guys. And he travels from Dorchester?
Yeah.
Is it? Like regularly? I mean, that's absolutely madness, Jack. So, I mean, fair play. And his content, by the way, is
really
absolutely
good.
bang on as well. Josh as well. Great to meet them lads. And, it was busy in there, but it was quick to get served. So the bar had it covered, a good range of beers, because it's a Green King pub. What we doing with this score then, Ben?
I think it's a solid 8.
Yeah.
I was tempted to say 10, but I think it's a solid 8.
Love it. Solid 8 for that. There we go. It's looking good so far. So, walk to the ground. That's our next category. I remember going, because I did have a few beers. I remember going out the pub, turning left, and then turning around, and you walk around this curved road up. Now, we were in the Lees's stand, and it's funny, behind the Lees's stand is this kind of old-fashioned terraced housing, but it's grade 1 listed, I think, so Lees's Terrace, which is one of the problems, if you want to say it, in terms of the redevelopment of St James's Park, and if they want to expand, what do they do? There was even one point about moving the buildings at one point, which would be absolutely crazy. But what's going to happen with St James's Park? They want to build the sort of Wembley of the North. Where that will happen, we don't know. Maybe they could build it in Lees's Park and then reallocate the St James's Park land as green, as a green site. I don't know, but either way, we sort of went in from a different way this time, so we didn't necessarily have the grand view. Ollie will go on to the wow factor shortly, but walk to the ground. Easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think again it's probably just another 8. It's just decent. I was speaking to a few Geordies on the way to the ground, nice lads, and it was just decent. And another 8 for me.
Yeah, personally. What is it that makes the Geordies so friendly?
I think it's just their whole persona about being welcoming to their city, and they're just chatty, friendly. So yeah, they're just really good people.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, next then it's the wow factor, and to do this we've got regular on the fan cams Ollie, and Ollie is going to have his say about what he thinks, plus he's going to score it out of 10.
Hello, back of the net. This is Ollie. You may recognise me from fan cams, but I'm here today to talk about St James's Park and where else to do it except outside the best stadium in the world, Dean Court. I'd say the view from the seats was definitely panoramic, to say the least. However, I think it gave a fresh new perspective to the game, which a lot of Bournemouth fans, including myself, definitely haven't had before. So I think it was definitely a good experience. I'd say the outside was lovely. It was definitely quite complex getting around. It was a very, very big stadium. And I'd probably say that the inside probably wasn't as nice as I was expecting. However, that's probably on purpose, seeing as we are the away fans. I'd also say that overall, I'd give it maybe pushing an 8. I can't give it a 10 though, just because of that view. I think that's probably fair. Anyway, thank you very much. Goodbye.
So yeah, Ollie scored 8 for that, and I can maybe see where he's coming from. I think this one, this is an individual opinion. It's got 2 massive stands, but it has got the 2 lower stands as well. But either way, when you approach it from certain angles, it just looks absolutely huge, and it's just like a beast on the horizon, isn't it?
I think if all of the stands were the same size and they were all big, massive stands, then it's surely got to be a 10 out of 10. So yeah, I think 8 is a reasonable score, to be honest. So yeah, fair play to Ollie for that. I completely agree.
Okay, next then, a view from your seat. Now, I think little Adam Hensman counted the number of steps. Was it 141 or something? I can't remember what it was, but either way, it's a lot of steps.
Can't relate. I got the lift.
Did you? You did not.
Well, they literally just said I was about to go up the stairs, and they just said if you want to use the lift, you can. So I maybe cheated the system a bit. I did walk down after the game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's unreal. That is unreal. I can't believe that. I was knackered by the time I got there. But the view, look, you know what kind of view you're going to get. But I suppose when we score this, it's not just the view of the pitch. You can see like all over Newcastle, can't you?
I don't think the view was actually that bad of the pitch as well. So I was in there's like a little lower section of like three or four rows of seats, which I was in. It was I thought it was decent for the pitch. You could see everything that was going on. You got quite a nice view of like where players are, formations and stuff like that, which you maybe couldn't get at a ground like Dean Court. Yeah, I thought the view itself was nice. You get to see the whole like panoramic view of the stadium, and you get to see some of the city as well. So I actually thought, obviously, the fact that I was at one of the lowest points in the away end helps.
Oh, okay,
but I think it's probably above average in comparison to other views. Crystal Palace is worse. Everton, stuff like that.
One thing, so one thing you can't say is like at certain stadiums, like Selhurst Park, sometimes you can't see parts of the pitch.
Yeah,
You've got to get onto your tippy toes to see what's going on in the corner. And there are other grounds as well with restricted views. It depends where you go. At Forest even, you can sometimes have a bad view, but you can see everything.
Yeah. So I'm happy with it. Obviously, if you were lower down, it would be probably better. But I think 6 is fair for the view overall, to be honest.
Superb. There we go. 6 for the view. Right then, we're going to go for pie and a pint, and we rate this based on the Daily Mirror's scores. Now, the Daily Mirror at the start of the season, they put an article about on the website with the price of pies and also the price of a pint. Now, we independently verify this to make sure it's accurate, and we can tell you that the scores are bang on, because Newcastle United, for the price of a pie last season, it was £4.90. It has gone up 8%. It's £5.15. But I've got to say, the pie was all right. It was tasty, not too bad at all. I had a steak pie.
Decent.
But sometimes you have it and it's a bit dry and there's too much pastry, but this had the right amount of moisture. Sometimes they can be a bit claggy, other times too watery, and the gravy it goes all over your fingers. I was happy with it. In terms of the price of a pint, you're talking a £5, which is, I think, rates about 16th on the Premier League table in terms of how pricey it is. So, it's actually doing very well indeed. I think only Luton, Everton and Liverpool, and maybe Manchester United actually, are the teams that are below. So for that, you're paying £5 for a pint. But whilst we talk about this, the concourse at Newcastle is quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's high up. You get a view of the city as well.
Yeah, I thought it was quite nice. There's been other concourses, QPR, Sheffield United, that are quite dingy, old. But I thought it was just pleasant, to be honest. It was
smallish, isn't it?
But that's obviously, we didn't take that many fans. So if we took maybe the full allocation, it'd be more open to other parts. So I thought the concourse as a whole, the toilets are fine. They weren't overflowing like maybe Crystal Palace or Man United or something like that. I thought, again, it was just a decent, pleasant, as I've said multiple times throughout the video. Yeah,
the pint was, I think I had an Amstel, and it was all right, actually. So I'm glad that they had a brand that we could get on board with. There were a few sort of cheaper, horrible brands, but you know what? I'm going to score this one for this, and I think, above average or happy enough. You know what? I don't know. If there was a 7 out of 10, I would give it. The pie was good, 8 out of 10. It's going to be 8 out of... You know what? Newcastle so far are doing very, very well. Right, let's go to the noise. Now, the last time I went to St James's Park was after the passing of the Queen.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any of the flags or any of that stuff, or tifo.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where that word comes from. But what did you think? Like, what do you make of the atmosphere? I suppose you have to dip into the football a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
obviously the noise they make will depend on how the game goes. And, you know, they were never ahead in the game.
Questionable. I think when St James's Park gets going, it's very loud because you've got 50,000 fans in there and they're Geordies, so they're going to be loud. But I spoke to quite a few Newcastle fans on social media about the noise, and they say that there's a lot more tourists there nowadays, which will come because of their ownership. Obviously, them finishing in the Champions League last season and things like that, having Brazilian players and this, that and the other. So I definitely think it's not as good as previous years.
It's been an underwhelming season for them as well.
Yeah.
Which can't exactly raise the decibel levels, can it?
And the fact that they were never winning against Bournemouth, which obviously, if you're Newcastle, you probably would be expecting to, even though we are actually quite close in the league now. But it's probably not the best. I don't think it's the worst that we've been to compared to other Premier League grounds, because I think home atmospheres on a whole in the Premier League, they're actually quite poor because of the amount of tourists and people that maybe don't want to sing, and that's Bournemouth included. But yeah, if I were to give it a rating personally, I would give it a 4, because when it got going, it was loud, but it just wasn't that frequent.
No, that's right. And, you know, like you say, when you're playing Bournemouth, and sort of no disrespect to us here, it's not like you're playing, you know, either your local rival Sunderland or a big side like Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City, etc. So you can't expect it to be that raucous. And at the end of the day, the loudest cheer that we heard was an equaliser, but that's all it ever was. They never took the lead. So, you know, I'm sure it would have been louder. And before the game, whilst there was all the flags and stuff, I didn't think it was. I mean, they had a roar playing through the speakers, I'm sure, at one point. But we've heard it better, and it can be better. So 4 for that.
Yeah.
Right, finally, value for money then. Now, you've got to obviously take into account that you're travelling a long way.
Yeah.
But just because you're travelling a long way, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be rated badly. I think in value for money, in terms of what we've been paying for Pint, if you're looking for a programme, they don't charge the earth for that. You know, getting around the city is quite cheap. It's actually all right, isn't it?
Yeah. On a whole, I think Newcastle is decently priced. Obviously, if you're in London, it would be a lot more expensive. So I think they do treat fans fairly, and just people on a whole in Newcastle. So I was pleased with the value for money. There wasn't too many extortionate places and whatnot. And I also think travelling around the city, if you were to be parked maybe 30 minutes away, you could get on the bus for a couple of quid, and that's easy pickings. Whereas if you are in London, you might need to get like a taxi for 20 quid or something.
Exactly. And also, like, you're just parks or whatever. When if you look around like London on a match day, like Fulham or Chelsea or whatever, if you go on a just park or your parking space, you look at the spaces that are available. Sometimes everyone's like 37 quid, 35 quid, 25 quid. It's like, you're joking. They were all reasonably priced around Newcastle. So, I thought that was all right. So what do you reckon?
I'm going to give it another 8.
Oh!
I've been given a lot of 8s. I just think maybe could the tickets be a little bit cheaper to be a 10? Obviously, to be a 10, it needs to be perfect. Like, tickets were phenomenally priced.
Yeah.
Like, everything was really, really good. But 8 out of 10 is still a very reasonable score for Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I think this one is going to do very well. Right then, let's total it up. Here's the league table now. There, you can see it. Wow, 58 points. That's unbelievable. Newcastle, I mean, they are miles clear of Manchester United anyway. Wow, that's superb. Ben, Newcastle top of the league. It's something that their fans would rather probably have on the pitch, but in terms of the away day, I mean, it's clear that they're always going to be up there, aren't they?
Yeah, I've done rankings on the TikTok based on fans, stadiums, away days, and Newcastle were pretty much top in all of them, I think.
Yeah.
So am I surprised? No. Maybe there could have been a change, because in a YouTube video, you're breaking down it into categories, and maybe things can change if you think about it more compared to a quick TikTok. But am I surprised? No, not really, because it was a really good away day, and it always is. Yeah,
it always is. If you're a Newcastle fan and you're watching, let us know what kind of pubs that you maybe recommend if there's something to do around the area as well? Because next time we go up on a weekend, we will make a weekend of it again, and it'd be nice to sort of do different things, maybe go to a different pub. But yeah, really pleased with that one. Newcastle United, top of the league. Right, in this series we have got coming up Burnley. That'll be really interesting to do, and I think we might get someone fairly recognisable that'll do the wow factor. Because Ben, you've never been to Turf Moor, have you?
Never had before.
Oh! Okay, so that'll be really interesting. There's a reason to subscribe to see this beautiful face. Thank you for watching so much. I've been Sam Davis.
I'm Ben Phillips.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Up the cherries.
Up the cherries, come on.